Shalom. Can anybody hear me? Shalom. Hey, it says excellent connection. Great. Shalom. Gary, Brenda, Janine, Pei, Philip Leedy. Shalom. Harrison, Betty, Tet, another Betty. We have two Bettys. I like it when you're both here. That's great. Oh, cool. Great job, Harrison. So glad to hear that. ID stands for Isaiah Dominance. For anyone who's wondering about that, we have Isaiah Dominance class is our directed immersion in the book of Isaiah for our monthly supporters. So glad you enjoyed that one released today. We just released another one today. I'm a little bit behind. I kind of conscientious about that. I want to release some more stuff for you guys. Things got a little bit hectic the last couple of weeks. So anyway, I'm glad you liked it. Thank you so much for that feedback. Hey, Shalom Troy. All right. So tonight, if you're new to Mondays, what we're doing is this is auditory learning to help expand your understanding, listening to the word instead of just reading it. And some people learn better this way. And most people, they have at least two learning styles, right? So it's not like you're just visual or you're just auditory or you're just like learning while moving and stuff. You have like a primary and a secondary. So it can be really useful to try to listen, even not looking, and try to understand this way to kind of stretch out in another dimension with Lashon HaKodesh. After all, faith comes through hearing, right? So, hey, Shalom, Annie. So glad you're here. So let's start with an opening prayer. Just real quickly, Avinu Malkeinu ken yhi ratzon ki ani yachol ledaber rak ki ata rotzeh. Lo li v'lecha yihye kol hakavod. Tishlachna Adonai berachot al talmidai. Ki hem gam hem yihyu levinim tov et hakol. Asher kakatuv bekitvei hakedushim. Father God, we're so grateful. May it be your will that you would give blessings to my students, that they may also indeed have understanding of your holy tongue, rather the holy writings, when they hear it and when they read it. Please give them their deepest desire. Et kol mish'alot levavam. B'schut Yeshua HaMashiach. Hey, shalom, Michael Burke and Veronica. Glad you guys made it. Okay, so this is our auditory learning. I have the verses on the screen that we are going to be talking about. It's Judges, Shoftim, chapter 1, verses 22 through 26. And there's a little pay at the end indicating a natural giant white space in the traditional text. So that's a good place to stop. Whenever possible, I try to break things up by the Sedra markers or the Satums, or when we have like a paragraph marker, like the pay there. Oh, you're very welcome, Ted. Hey, shalom, Vicky and Fuddlywink. Yeah, I'm so happy when you guys give me feedback that you've had a breakthrough or you read a whole verse and understood all of it without having to really try too hard. Or these are really nice giant leaps to be getting. You're very welcome, Veronica. It's my pleasure. I really wish that for you guys. It's such an amazing thing to be able to understand the Holy Tongue, and nobody can take it away from you. Once you've got it, nobody can take it away. No matter what's happening in your life, if things are not going well, you can always just kind of smile and be like, I understand the ancient language that was used to create the universe. I understand the language which Hashem himself speaks. I understand the language which the Messiah spoke when he walked the earth. I understand the language of the prophets, right? And we all are going to be Israel, in fact, wrestling with the divine as we wrestle with the sacred tongue. Not wrestling with God, but wrestling with the divine. Yeah. I don't like that interpretation, wrestling with God. I think it's a translational error. That is not what Israel is. As much as I love Dr. Peterson and others, they're off on that. Okay, so here we are. It's up to you if you want to look at the screen or look at your own Bible, that's fine, or just look at the road if you're commuting to work or something, or close your eyes if you're in a train or something, or even at home, and listen. All right, that's what we're going to be doing tonight. So let's get started. Judges 1, verse 22. Vayaalu. Vayaalu. So the verb is Allah, ayin lamed hey. Allah, to go up, to ascend. Like yesterday was the ascension of Yeshua HaMashiach on Omer number 40. Right? So we had the ascension, which is very interesting because mem is how you write 40 in biblical Hebrew, the letter mem, and mem stands for Mashiach. And on the 40th day of the Omer, that is when Yeshua ascended into heaven and blessed his Talmidim. So the y at the beginning, ya'alu, tells us it's he or they, and the u at the end means it's they. So ya'alu means they are ascending, or they will ascend, they will go up, but the vav at the beginning changes it. So va ya'alu, and they went up, or so they went up. And the context is militarily, right? You probably notice there's certain verbs of motion in Hebrew that when you read it, even in a translation, you can tell, and at certain times, it's clearly a military nuance of that verb. So, like to go to bring out and to bring in, right? To bring out and to bring in. This is military language, to lead the troops out and to lead them home again after victory, right? So that's what Yehoshua bin Nun was said to be, someone after Moshe Rabbeinu who would bring the people out and bring them in. So vayaalu, so they went up. Who went up? Subject follows. Veit, from the word bayit, meaning house. Bayit is house, but when it's beit or veit, it's construct. It means house of. House of Yosef. Yosef. Vayaalu veit Yosef. Then the house of Joseph went up. Vayaalu veit Yosef. Gam haim. Gam. Gam. Gam means also, and sometimes it's used just as a strengthener, right? Just as an emphatic particle, like to make what you're reading stronger. And it kind of feels that way too when you start stacking up modifiers, like also, indeed, a lot. Okay, I get it. There's something happening here. Hi, shalom, Dr. Devera and Thea. So glad you guys are here. And seek meekness. Welcome. So vayaalu veit Yosef. Then the house of Joseph went up. Gam haim. Haim means they. In modern Hebrew, haim is they. In biblical Hebrew, it's haim, and sometimes hema. Hema, hema, do 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 do, do 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 do. Anyway, sorry. And for the feminine, plural, it's hain. So hain is a mixed, some would call it genderless, because if you have men and women, you use the form hain. It's traditionally taught as masculine plural, because if you have just one man in the group, this is what we use, right? So you can have 1,000 women, and there's one man there, we use haim. Haim, right? So gam haim, also them, or also they. So this is an emphatic, right? It's gam is emphatic, and also haim. So indeed, Beit El, although it's actually Bethel. Bethel. It's a name, Bethel, the house of ale. And this is considered by the Mefsharim, the classic rabbinical commentators, to be not the identical place, the holy place known as Bethel, but the city that is nearby. So the geographic marker could refer to the actual place of Bethel where cool stuff happened, or it could be the city. And so, of course, this is the hostile city that we're talking about. Vayaalu veit Yosef gam hem Bethel. So the house of Joseph went up. Indeed, they went to Bethel. vaAdonai imam. vaAdonai imam. That does not mean Adonai is an imam. I guarantee you, that's not what that means. So vaAdonai. Notice we say vaAdonai. There's a vav, and then it's got the tetragrammaton yod he, waw he. That is the sacred name, and it's pointed with a comets. Now I know this is an auditory class. So you probably don't see it, but I'm going to mention this. You can imagine in your mind's eye, it's pointed like this. There's the waw, the vav, with a patach, that's just the horizontal bar, the ah sound, va. And then it's yod he, vav he, but the yod has no vowel under it. And this is just another slap in the face to Nehemiah Gordon and anybody who tries to say that, no, you're supposed to read it with the vowels under there. Making these crazy claims that it's Yeho, and then the second part of God's name is Va. It's just impossible. Believe me, it's impossible. So what's happening here is the Masoretes, the reason there's no vowel underneath the Yod is because they're counting on us to say Adonai. They're not like being sneaky and trying to tell us, hey, these are the vowels you use. Oh, hold on. Intruder alert. Intruder alert. No, I accidentally unplugged something and my voltage regulator went crazy. All right. Sorry about that. Just to make sure you're awake. So what's happening is, with the actual word Adonai, it's spelled with an aleph. And Janine and I think Yehonatan, maybe a couple others, were over in Hebrew literacy chat. We're discussing how aleph loses its consonantal properties sometimes. It quiesces. And so what has happened in the word Adonai, it's an aleph with a chataf patach, or a composite schwa. I mean, maybe this is too much for auditory. And when you put a vav with an ah in front of it, the aleph will lose its vowel. It'll lose its vowel marker. Okay? Maybe that's enough to say. And so here the yod has lost its vowel marker, even though a yod would not lose its vowel marker when there's an ah under the vav in front of it. You see? It can lose it when there's an I under it, but not this way. So this doesn't make any sense the way the vowels are there, if that's supposed to actually be how you pronounce God's name. Because it's not how you pronounce his name. You don't take the vowels and then apply them to Yod He Waw He and then say it like Nehemiah Gordon and some of these other silly people are doing. Okay, you don't. And this just came to mind as I'm looking at it now. This is a clear evidence that that's not what the Masoretes were doing. Okay, it's very clear that this only works because Adonai is what they're pointing. They're giving you the vowel markers for what would happen to a word that starts with an aleph if you preceded it with a vav. Okay, that's what would happen. The aleph would lose its consonantal properties. The yod would not when there's an ah under the vav. If it's too complicated, don't worry about it. Or listen to it again later, maybe with your eyes open. All right. Hey, Shalom Beverly. Welcome. So, vaAdonai and Adonai, imam. Or I should say, imam. Ayin men with them. Adonai was with them. Vayaalu veit Yosef. Then the house of Joseph, they went up. Gam hem. Indeed they did. Bethel, to Bethel. vaAdonai, and Adonai was with them. Verse 23. vayatiyru, vayatiyru. With ancient pronunciation, it would have been vayatiyru. Vayatiyru. The verb is, this confuses, there's some disagreement among scholars what's happening here. So I'm just going to cut to the chase and side with how the Targum translates this. So the Targum treats it like it's the verb tur, which is tav, vav, resh. And if you've heard me talk about this verb before, I say it's like to tour around, right? So this is what the spies did when they went into the land. They toured around. They took a tour. So yatiru, this is they went around, right? Or they scouted about. Actually, it's they will scout about. I'm sorry, yatiru, but then the vav changes it. Vayatiru, and they scouted around. Who did? Veit Yosef, the house of Joseph. Bethel, at Bethel. So again, they're not at the holy site, like looking around that small area, right? At the house of God, the name of the site, or the house of the divine. They're not doing that. Or even temple of the divine, you could interpret that. It's the larger city precinct. V'shem, and shame, name of Ha-el, Ha-el, the name of the city, V'shem Ha-el, and the name of the city was lephnim. So lephnim can have a few different meanings. It can mean like to the faces, or to the face, to the presence, and before. It can mean both before, like physically, and it can also mean before temporally, like we say in English. So, V'shem ha'el lefanim. Now, the name of the city before, and we have to supply was in English, Luz, and that's why they lost. You name your city Luz, you're gonna lose. You have to have some kind of positive thinking, all right? Especially if you've got idolatrous gods. Brenda says, why the ayin does not sound like E since there's a dot underneath? Okay, let me look. Let's see here. Ayin. Ha'ir. Okay, what's happening is if we don't bother to pronounce the ayin, il. It'll sound more like that, il. But the ayin takes a little bit of the breath away, right? So, il. So that's a good question and observation there, Brenda. It is an E. It's just ayin is kind of a unique kind of consonant, right? That guttural. And so it's stealing some of the breath just to make the ayin sound because you're already so deep in your throat that E isn't as pronounced. Ha'ir. Hope that answered the question. Oh, she's asking about this one. Imam. The imam. Again, we have an ayin. So same sort of thing happening there. Imam. Yeah, I'm assuming you meant a long E sound, right? Like an E with a little line on top, like or a double E. Imam. So what's happening here? It's a closed syllable. So we have ayin and mem, and then there's another mem, and then there's another mem, the mem sofit. Okay, so that mem with the dot in it is actually split down the middle. Okay, and the suluk shows us that where the accent is. It's on the second syllable. So the first part, ayin mem, is a closed unaccented syllable. So the hirik is going to be a shorter sound there, no matter what. Yeah. So it's a hirik without a yod. It's a defective hirik, and that's more like a imam, not imam, imam. Does that make sense? If there's an accent on there, then all bets are off. Or if the Masoretes are using the single dot just to correct a spelling, like sometimes we see in Jerusalem, there won't be a yod and they'll correct it with the hirik, then you still say the word the right way. Yerushalayim, not Yerushalayim. Although it's a very slight difference. All right, verse 24. Hope that answered your question there. Pei says ancient people like to speak with great power. I like that. I like that. Vayirau hashomerim. Vayirau. So the verb is kind of hard to recognize, especially if you're just listening. It's the verb ra'ah. Ra'ah. Resh, aleph, hey. He saw. But it's got a yod at the front and an u at the end, so that's they. Yir'u, yir'u is they will see, or they are seeing. And then the vav at the front is going to change the aspect from imperfect to perfect. Vayir'u. And they saw. Don't confuse it with yara, to be afraid. You could do that, right? Because you see the yod, or you hear the yod, resh, aleph, and you might think it's the verb yara, but it's not. It's pretty easy to confuse them because ra'ah is a lamed hey verb, the hey's gone, and so you're just stuck with two root letters. If you knew the vowel pointings well enough, you wouldn't confuse them because you'd realize, oh, okay, it's, yeah. But I confuse them sometimes, and then you keep reading context, oh, oops. So don't feel bad if you messed it up. Vaya'u. Okay, so who saw? Hashomerim. 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 So the root is shama, and this is a shomer. Hine lo yanu belo yishan shomer Yisrael. From the Psalms. And a special shout out to anybody. Если есть кто-нибудь здесь из Москвы, который сощущает в синагоге Шомер Israel, передайте мне привет. From those who are the synagogue, the first Messianic synagogue over in Moscow, we salute you, shalom to you, to congregation Shomer Yisrael. So a shomer is a watchman, right? A watchman. Or a watcher. Ooh, no, watchers usually with spelled differently. A watchman. Shomerim are watchmen. Although the nuance can change a little bit. Like these could be patrolmen, like guys that are out on patrol, right? It could be like from the expeditionary force, like the scouts. It could be like scouts or something. So the shomerim. I will just be hyperliteral, and you can nuance it as you like. Vayirau ha-shomerim. And the watchman saw or noticed. Next word, ish, a man, ish. Yotzei, yotzei. The exodus from Egypt is called the Yetziat Mitzrayim, the going out of Egypt, right? Yatzah is to go out. Yotzei is the same form as shomer is. Shomer, a watchman from Shema. Yotzei is a going out man from Yatzah. So you could translate this. Then the safeguarding, or the safeguarders saw a man. What kind of man? A going out one. Okay, an exiting one. Ha-el. Min. From the el city. Vayirau hashomerim. Then the watchmen, or the patrolmen, the patrollers, they noticed ish, a man. Yotzei min ha'er. Yotzei, coming out, min, from ha'er, the city. Coming out of the ear. Coming out of the city. Harrison loves the hyperliteral. Great. Yes, please listen to Admin Tet over there. All right, that's it. Nachta. If you're listening, you probably couldn't tell, but in ancient times, well, the way the Masoretes emphasize this, I'm just going to take part of their attribute. The atnachta is the little wishbone that's underneath the word. Some call it atnach, others atnachta. It would have been read something like this. Vayirau hashomerim ish yotzei min ha'el. Okay, like it's really got oomph to it. And so you can tell that's the end of the clause, right? That's the end of the clause. That guy can stand alone. That is an independent clause. Next. Same verse. Vayomeru. Vayomeru. The verb is amar, to say. Yomeru is they will say. Va yomeru is and they said lo. If you're just listening, notice it's lo, not lo. Even though we usually pronounce them both the same today, I'm giving you a hint. It's not lamed aleph, lo. It's lamed vav, lo. Two, the lamed is two, and then oh, le oh, to him. Vayomeru le oh, they said to him, haranu, haranu, haranu. So again, we have the same verb that started the verse, ra'ah, resh aleph hey, but it has a hey in front of it. This is a Hifil binyan, a causative, right? So har'e means cause to see. Causative from the Hifil. The ha at the beginning means like cause re'e to see, nu, us. Cause us to see. Now that's quite wordy, although it is hyperliteral. Best to say show us. Show nu. Cause to see nu. Na. Please. They could be saying please or now. Na, noon aleph at the end of the word is please or now. So let's start again. Second clause. Vayomeru lo. And they said to him, haranu, show us. Na, please. Et mebo ha'el. Mebo is from the word mavo. The root is bo. Baruch haba. That one, ba. Okay. Bo is entering. A mavo is an entrance. An entrance. Again, when you put that mem in front of a word, if you recognize the verbal root, then a lot of the time it's something that somehow assists the verb to complete its function, right? So that could either be a profession, like a person doing it, or it could be an object that's part of the verb. It assists the verb, right? So I've never heard it taught this way, so this is just my own kind of shenanigans. If it helps you, accept it. If not, just let it wash over. So mavo helps to bo. So you enter through an entrance, right? So a mavo is an entrance. Similarly, patach, pay tav, not tet, pay tav chet, is he opened. Patach. And a mavteach, just like mavo to bo is an entrance that you go in, a mavteach is a key. So it helps you to open, right? Mavteach helps you to patach. Okay. You can enter into the pitchei olam, the gates of olam, of eternity. Okay. So vayomeru lo, so they said to him, haranu, show us, na, please, or now. They could have been tough. Now, et mebo ha'ir. Notice it's mevo, not mavo. It changed from to because it's shortened, because it's a construct. So mavo is an entrance. Mevo is an entrance of the city. So show us the entrance of the city. Show us the mevo ha'el. Okay, why? Ve'asinu. This is the verb asa. Ayin, sin, hey. To do or to make. Asinu means we did or we made. I shouldn't have done the nu because it made it sound like a suffix when it's part of the verb. Sorry. And the vav changes the aspect. Ve and asinu, we will do imcha. Im, ayin mem, with cha, you, chased, which usually is chesed. It's only chased because it's the last word in the verse. It's got that extra oomph. So the first oomph was ha'el, and the next oomph was chased. And we will do with you chesed. We will deal with you kindly is how I would translate that. Right? I mean, if you want to be literal, we will do or we will make with you kindness. Or familiar loyalty will treat you like family. Verse 25. Actually, let me repeat 24 one more time, but this will be a kind of a brisk pace. Don't feel bad if you don't get it all, okay? vayirau hashomarim ish yotzei min ha'ir. Then the patrols noticed a man coming out from the city. Vayomeru lo. So they said to him, Haranu na et mebo ha'ir. Show us now the city's entrance. Ve'asinu immecha chassid. Then we will treat you kindly. Verse 25. Like, if you don't, we've got swords. Verse 25. It's early Mossad, you know. Vayaraem. Vayaraem. Okay, let me read it normally. Vayaraem. So again, the verb is ra'ah, resh, aleph, hey, and the hey's gone away. So that yod at the beginning, the yod is he. So yar'eh is he is showing or he will show. Aim. The mem at the end is them. Previously, at the first we started with tonight, we had the word haim. This is a suffix form of haim. It can be haim. It could have been suffix that way, or it can just be the mem part, like shorthand. Yar'em is he caused to see them. So he showed them. Pardon me, he will show them, and the vav changes it. Vayaraem, and he showed them, or so he showed them, et mebo ha'ir, the city's entrance. What happened when you got good intel? When Mossad did well? Vayaku et ha'ir. Vayaku. That's that verb we saw last time, or we heard last time. It's doubly weak. It's nacha. And the noon is gone, and the hey is gone, and we're only left with the ka. Okay? The ya and the u, yaku, tells you it's they. Yaku means they will smite. But vayaku means and they smote. They smacked it with the idea of a victory. Vayaku et ha'el. So they smote the city. Lefi charev. And that's another et machla. The word is actually cherev, which means a sword, but it becomes charev. We're seeing a lot, right? Chesed became chassid, right? Here, cherev became charev. And that's just how it goes. It's got a strong hit, so the pronunciation changes. Lefi. The lamed here is being used to mean like by means of. Fi is the construct of pay. Pay means mouth. I'll be hyperliteral here. Pay means mouth. Right, Janine, to strike, exactly. But implying victory. Pay means mouth. P means mouth of. So lefi, by the mouth of, or literally to the mouth of, charev, sword. So the blade on a sword is called its mouth, right? I think it was Gary pointed out that the sword devoureth, right? That's why it's got a mouth. It can eat. It could eat. Probably bagels, since this is a Jewish sword. Lefi charev. Ve'et ha'ish. Ve'et ha'ish. So the vav here, because I understand the ish they're talking about, instead of and, I'm going to say but. But the man, ha'ish, ve'et, and kol mishpachto. Kol mishpachto. So kol means all of mishpachto. It's from the word mishpacha, or mishpocha if you're in Yiddish. Mishpacha is family. And when the word ends in ah, if you change it to at, that means of. So mishpacha, family, at, of, oh, mishpach, oh, the family of him. So what happened? Vayaku et ha'ir. So they smote the city, lefi charev, by the sword's blade. The et ha'ish, but the man, the et kol mishpacht, oh, and all of his family, shilechu. Shilechu. It's a PL form from shalach. Shalach is to send. Shileach, with a strong dagesh in the lamed, the PL form means it can mean to banish, right? Like a king, shileach, you're banished, right? It can also mean to send way out, right? Or it can mean to divorce, right? Like to divorce. Right? You're sending him out of the house, right? So shilehu, they sent away. So they sent them away. So he was saved, but he's not allowed to live here anymore, nonetheless. Oh, yeah, you're right, Gary. Gary says, wasn't there a sword named Biter in Lord of the Rings? Sting. I know there's Sting. I remember Sting. You know this sword. You know it well. Its name is Sting, isn't it? Yeah. Frodo is holding it up to because he wanted the precious. Yeah, there might be one called Biter. Trying to remember. But yeah, you can see Tolkien takes a lot from the Bible. Yeah, he was really well versed in the Bible, and he knew biblical Hebrew as well as many languages. Actually, he was quite a linguist and invented languages as well. All right, continuing. Don't get excited. I put the laser pointer up there by accident. We are just doing auditory. Verse 25 again. Vayaraem. So he showed them, he caused to see, aim them, et mebo, the entrance of the city. Vayaku. Then they struck et ha'el, the city. Lefi by the mouth of the sword. Ve'et ha'ish, but the man, ve'et kol mishpachto, and all of the mishpacha, the family of him, shilechu, they sent out. All right, one verse left. Let me get a drink. If you guys want to process anything, I'm checking for questions over in the chat, but you don't have to chat if you're not willing to watch. Yvonne asks, any relation to keruv? Oh, you mean the sword? No, that's a different consonant there, Yvonne. Let's see. Gary says the prophet Google, peace be upon him, amen, says the sword Orcus was known as biter and goblin cleaver. Ooh, oh, nice. Thank you to the prophet Google. There's this thing that Christian Prince says that's so funny. When he talks about the false prophet, the one who never made a prophecy that ever happened, he says, police be upon him. Instead of peace, police be upon him. Because, he broke so many laws. Gary says, used by Thorin Oakenshield. Ah, the dwarf. All right. Nice. Seek Meekness says, wonder who the man they let live was. We have a legend about this, actually. But the legend's, I don't know. I don't want to bias you against it. I find it a little silly, but I'll share it with you since you're asking. Since you wonder who he is, and this is the only evidence I know about who he is. So, in the Talmud, tractate, sorry, someone's trying to talk to me. In the Talmud tractate Sota, there is a story about this man. And it says that, I'm trying to remember it. Yeah, okay. So he moved to a place that is in modern Turkey, right? And like southern modern Turkey, north of Syria, clearly north. And the town that he establishes, that we're going to read in the next verse, it was honored because of this man, that the angel of death was not allowed to enter into it. Oh, wait, also they made some cool things there. What did they make? I think they made like some kind of precious jewels or like jewelry arrangement you couldn't find anywhere else in the world. And they produced the dye that's needed for techelet, for the tzitzit, right? So that's kind of a neat legend. And because this guy was precious and how he helped, the angel of death was not allowed into the city. And in those days, what would happen in that city is the elders, the old people, when they decided they'd had enough life, they'd just leave the gates of the city and then death would get them. So I think that one's pretty much legend, But who knows? Maybe he did have something to do with the dye production for Techelet or something, right? If anybody else knows anything about him, let me know. That's all that I know. So from the Talmud Sota, I don't remember where in there. Everyone's laughing. Seek Meekness says, I bet he was super glad he listened to their simple request, even though it led to the destruction. Yeah. Harrison schreibt, Sie haben den Ring gemacht. Fünf, fünf, fünf. Ja, das stimmt, mein Freund. All right. Mein Schatzchen. Auf Deutsch, sagt. All right. That's my precious in German for anyone who's caring to know. All right, verse 26. Vayelech ha'ish. Sorry, too fast. Vayelech. Yelech. This is the verb halach, and verbs that start with hey don't usually lose the hey. Halach is to go or to walk. In this case, it's gone. And the yod tells us it's a he. So yelech is he is walking or he will walk. It's an imperfect, meaning an incompleted action. Again, it's not future. It's not future. Oftentimes, when we pin the Hebrew down into English, we treat it as a future. But that's not, Hebrew's not really about futures. And it's not about past. It's about aspect. Right? Like we see with the Jewish Greek and the apostolic writings, also very similarly about aspect, usually. So, Yelech, imperfect. Va-yelech is perfect. So it's a completed action. So probably this is not prophetical. So we're going to treat it as past in English. Vayelech. And he went. Here comes the subject. Who went? Ha-ish, the man. Vayelech ha-ish. And the man went, or so the man went. Eretz ha-chitim. Eretz ha-chitim. Construct. The land of the Hittites. And it's construct because the last word is definite. So we don't say a land of the Hittites, we say the land of the Hittites. Eretz ha-Hittim cannot mean a land of the Hittites, even if they had multiple lands. You have to say that differently. You have to use a lamed instead. You'd say Eretz la-Hittim, a land belonging to the Hittites, right? So they have multiple lands. Vayelech ha-ish Eretz ha-Hittim. So the man went to the land of the Hittites. Vayiven. Vayiven. The verb is bana or bane. Beit nun hey, and the hey has gone away. So we're only left with be and n. The yod tells us it's he. Yivin is he will build or he is building. Vayiven is and he built. Vayiven and he built. What did he build? El. El. A city. Vayiven il. And he built a city. Or founded a city, someone may want to say. Vayikra. Vayikra. So yikra is he will call or he is calling. Vayikra is and he called. Make it perfect. Shema. Shema. With our special falsetto. Shema. Shema. So Shem, name of her. Cities are female. They're feminine in gender, even though they don't look like it. They don't have an sound at the end, but they are. My bar mitzvah rabbi used to say, think of it as if the city is the mother of her inhabitants, right? If you just, then you'll remember it's feminine. Vayikra Shema, and he called its name Luz. He just really loved that name, Luz. It's kind of like immigrants, they leave York, they come to the Americas, and where they settle, they call it New York, right? So, and that whole area up there where the colonies first were, that's all New England, right? Everybody had some nostalgia for England, so it's New England. All right. I wonder what the first colony on Mars will be. Will it be New York? Oh, that's in Futurama. They have New York, but it's on Earth. Okay. Who Shema, who, so who means he, or that, that is Shema, its name, literally the name of her. Who Shema, that is its name. Ad, until Hayom Hazeh. Hayom, the day. Hazeh, this one. So until this day. All right, let's repeat 26. Vayelech ha'ish eretz hachitim. Then the man went to the land of the Hittites. Vayivin el, and he built a city. He founded a city. Vayikra Shema, and he called its name Luz. Hu Shema ad hayom hazeh. That is its name until this day. And that is the end of our reading for tonight. I'll read through all of it at a brisk pace with a little bit, just kind of some simple translation, and then we're done. Verses 22 through 26. Vayaalu vet Yosef gam heim Bethel. Then the house of Joseph, they went up. Indeed, they did, to Bethel. vaAdonai imam, and Adonai was with them. Vayatiyru vet Yosef, and the house of Joseph traveled around Bethel, at Bethel. V'shem ha'el lephnim Luz. Now the name of the city before was Luz. 24. Vayirau hashomerim ish yotzei min ha'el. Now the watchmen saw or noticed a man coming out from the city. Vayomeru lo haranu na et mebo ha'el v'asinu immecha chassid. So they said to him, show us haranu na, please, or now, et mebo ha'el, the entrance of the city, and we will treat you kindly, or we will do well with you. Verse 25. Vayaraem et mebo ha'el. So he showed them the mebo ha'el, the entrance of the city. Vayaku et ha'el. Imagine the swords clashing action. Lefi harev. And they struck the city with the mouth of the sword. Ve'et ha'ish ve'et kol mishpachto shileichu. But the man and all of his family they sent out. 26. Vayelech ha'ish eretz hachitim. So the man went to the land of the Chittim. Vayivin el, and he built a city. Vayikra Shema Luz, and he called her name Luz. Hu Shema ad hayom hazeh. This is her name until this day. All right. Harrison says, thanks so much, Rob. We actually dig this just listen approach. Great. I'm so glad some of you are finding it beneficial. I'm trying to figure out how to work up a kinesthetic learning too, that we can maybe have sometime for those of you who learn well by moving. If you're having trouble with vocabulary, I highly recommend you make a list of the words you want to learn. And if you like to exercise, you get on a elliptical cross trainer or something like that, and you look at some of the words and say them before you start running. And then while you're running, you can look at them. And then when you're done, look at it again. And I guarantee you're going to remember some of it. I memorized really easily some stuff doing it this way. Seek Meekness says, getting close each day to understanding. One more day closer to meet the King. Yeah, nice. Shalom, shalom, Betty, Yakar, Tet, all you guys. You're very welcome, Ellie. Thank you for saying something to us. So glad for the shout out. Shalom, shalom.